UFC Fight Night Vegas 69, Andrade versus Blanchfield just took place, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main events, giving my reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card, and my overall event recap as well. Let's start straight away with the early prelim opener of Clayton Carpenter versus Juancamilo Ronderos. Nothing really happened on the feet, and then Juancamilo Ronderos got a takedown on Clayton Carpenter, but Clayton Carpenter didn't seem in any danger whatsoever. He immediately nearly had a triangle out of nowhere, then he tried to turn it into an armbar, and there was just a bunch of danger for Juancamilo Ronderos whenever he was on top of Clayton Carpenter. And then Juancamilo actually did a decent job of scrambling out of those bad positions and working his way back into like a good position and scrambling, but during the scramble, Clayton Carpenter one step ahead, won the positional control, ended up on top, and after that he was just basically waiting for Juancamilo Ronderos to give up his back. Eventually he did, and he got the rear naked choke submission in the first round. Very good job by Clayton Carpenter. Very patient on the ground, and he showed a bit more to his game, so very good stuff. Obviously, Juancamilo Ronderos isn't really UFC level himself. He's just one of those guys that's somehow in the UFC, but looking forward to seeing what Clayton Carpenter can do in the flyweight division. Seems like a very strong-built guy for that division. We move on. Up the card, AJ Fletcher versus Themba Gorimbo. Again, not much happened on the feet in this fight whatsoever. Themba Gorimbo got a takedown early on in the fight, but eventually AJ Fletcher reversed position, ended up on top, and had a bit of success throwing some elbows in top position and stuff like that, but good stuff from AJ Fletcher in the fight, pretty much. Reversing position, staying patient. Themba Gorimbo had him in some danger at one point. Looked like maybe he was almost about to take the back and start threatening towards a rear naked choke, but AJ Fletcher did a very good job at scooting his hips out of that position, getting his hips to the canvas away from the hips of Themba Gorimbo, and was able to reverse position and stay very patient there. A little bit of a leg lock danger at the end of the round, but overall, AJ Fletcher did more damage on the ground and got the job done there in round 1, 10-9. Round 2, similar situation. Themba Gorimbo was shooting for a takedown on AJ Fletcher again. AJ Fletcher ended up in a better position. Both guys ended up sort of scrambling back up to their feet, and then AJ Fletcher just tags him with this nasty elbow on the inside, rocks Themba Gorimbo quite badly, and then latches up a guillotine as Themba Gorimbo goes for like a semi-conscious takedown attempt. So very good work from AJ Fletcher. He gets the job done by sub in the first round. We move on to another fight, which was OSP versus Philipe Lins. Patient, and then boom, Philipe Lins lands a big right hand on OSP, and he just never let him recover after that, pretty much. That was the entire fight. It was just, you know, a real quick one to break down here, but OSP got tagged pretty much in the first 10 seconds of the fight, and just was on his heels the entire time as Philipe Lins was chasing him down, trying to land combinations on him. Wasn't really doing a great job of finding the finishing blow, but eventually, as OSP was like circling out and trying to get some space, he left himself open, and Philipe Lins tagged him with like a straight left right on the chin and put him down. So very good job from Philipe Lins. He gets the job done by first round TKO. We move on. Up the card, Jamal Emmers versus Khusein Askhabov. Now, this is one that I really want to talk about. What a load of hype. 4 million followers. Wow. I watched this guy on the regional scene, and I said in my prediction video, I should pick Jamal Emmers, but I'm going to trust in this guy because of his name, and like, you know what I mean? You trust that he's going to have that grappling ability to try and get things to the ground if it isn't working out on the feet. And it's just like, dude, he was terrible. And Jamal Emmers is a decent fighter, don't get me wrong. So I'm not trying to take everything away from Jamal Emmers here, but man, it wasn't even like Jamal Emmers was losing and he just caught Khusein Askhabov on the chin and Khusein got exposed. No, he genuinely got exposed here as just being subpar as a fighter. Like a regional level fighter. Like he was not ready for the UFC. 23-0. He found himself 23 subpar opponents, I guess. And I watched his fights. Like, he's not the best, but I was still thinking, well, he's still winning 23 in a row. So there must be something to this guy. Turns out there really ain't much to this guy. He just was lost on the feet. Overthrowing shots, missing punches. He had some effective leg kicks early on, but I feel like the commentary weren't really talking about Jamal Emmers' leg kicks on Khusein Askhabov because he was landing a lot of them, and also ended up, I think, tagging Khusein Askhabov with a big punch that put him down, but he didn't get scored a knockdown for some reason. I guess it was more off balance, but Jamal Emmers just won the fight outright. Very good performance. Stuffed all the takedowns of Khusein Askhabov. Eventually, Khusein would be able to sort of like get himself back up to his feet like Derek Lewis used to be able to. Poor Derek Lewis. He'll be gone. He will never be forgotten. But Jamall Emmers just sort of made some mistakes. I think he should have just kept it standing the entire time. He was winning in the clinch, winning at range. And, sometimes when he would shoot for a takedown, he would give Khusein the ability to reverse him and have a chance. But he always ended up being one step ahead in the scrambles. And, Khusein Askhabov, no real ability on the ground. Cardio seemed very weak, in all honesty. Overthrowing shots, throwing a bunch of spinning techniques that weren't anywhere close to landing. Yeah, got exposed as a bit of a can crusher in hindsight, so that's tough. That might be one of the biggest exposés because there was a lot of hype behind that guy. 4 million followers, paid for or not. Probably paid for, let's be real. A lot of following regardless, though. Probably, like, I don't think he paid for 3.9 million of them. You know what I mean? He probably paid for a couple mil, but he might have like 1 million followers. But yeah, 23-0, now 23-1. And hype gone after that performance, I'll be honest. We move on to another fight up the card, which was Lina Lansberg versus Mayra Bueno Silva. I picked Mayra Bueno Silva as my lock of the card. I thought there's no way she loses this one, and she got it done pretty impressively. She beat up Lina Lansberg in the first round. Lina Lansberg had some success in the clinch and stuff like that, but overall, it was Mayra Bueno Silva's fight, and eventually in the second round, I believe she got like a head and arm throw on Lina Lansberg. I'm burping up a storm. On Lina Lansberg, got a head and arm throw, ended up taking mount and just waiting for Lina Lansberg, I believe, to give up the rear naked choke. If I'm remembering this correctly, I think it was a rear naked choke. I'm going to double check right now, but I'm pretty sure it was a rear naked choke, if I'm not mistaken. But she got the submission in the second round, waited for opportunity, and eventually that opportunity presented itself. Again, I'm just going to double check that it was a rear naked choke. No, it was a knee bar. She had a rear naked choke attempt, but then she went for the leg afterwards, after they separated. Yeah, Lina Lansberg separated from the position, got back to her feet, and then whilst Mayra Bueno Silva was on her back, she just sort of rolled for the leg and grabbed a hold of it and got the knee bar immediately. So, very good performance from her, and she got herself a performance of the night bonus for that submission. So, little bit weird to give it to such a massive favourite. There were people that got upsets, that got finishes on the card, or people that were in very close odds fights, but okay, give it to her. She beat the girl that she was a 6-1 favourite over, because Lina Lansberg is absolute dog shit. But it was a good submission, so fair play. We move on up the card to another fight that was Nazim Sadykhov versus Evan Elder. This got fight of the night, but I feel like Hernandez versus Miller was more fun, if I'm honest with you. But I get it, I like when they do this, in all honesty. If there's a question between two of the fight of the nights, Sadykhov and Elder are making really low money, so give them the bonus, you know what I mean? Because Elder, I didn't think the cut was that bad at first. I knew because of the position of it that it was probably going to get called off. But I didn't think it was that terrible at first. But one that I seen on Dana White's story, the actual cut footage, terrible cut. They needed to stop that fight because that would have got bad. That would have got really, really bad if they let that continue. So, sucks for Evan Elder. I had it 2-0 to him. And I picked Sadykhov, and I was very hyped up on Sadykhov coming in. Great gym, a good performance on the Contender Series. Has been doing good in his career so far. And I felt like he was looking good, looking really good, looking a lot more technical than Evan Elder. But Evan Elder was just sort of gritting down and going and throwing with him, landing a bunch of good body kicks in the early round, and was just sort of landing the better shots, I feel like. Even Sadykhov was looking a bit more technical. Elder was just going and full steam ahead. So, unless Sadykhov got a finish in the third round, the fight was over. And it ended up being over because of a knee that landed. It was supposed to be a head kick, but the knee ended up grazing on the eye of Sadykhov. No, it was just a straight up knee to the eye. And then subsequent moments opened it up a little bit more. And I had Evan Elder winning, but that was a great fight, though. Really good fight. Both guys knocked each other off balance in the first. Evan Elder really badly knocked down Sadykhov in the first round, but Sadykhov got right back up, popped back up, back to his senses, luckily enough. Great recovery for him on his chin, and won the first round because of it. Evan Elder 10-9. Round 2 was close, but I give it to Evan Elder because he just seemed like he was hustling more in the clinch, landing knees to the body, working more in those positions. And I think that's why I was giving him the fight, you know, and he got himself a takedown at one moment. And I know it's like not massive amounts of scoring, but in a close round, that's what I kind of look at to sort of distinguish the round. And I just thought he was being a little bit busier with his knees, especially in his body work that he was going to. But both guys were looking great, swinging great shots. It was an amazing fight. Probably would have been an amazing third round as well. But Evan Elder just got a little bit unlucky, I guess. I thought he was on his way to a win, and I picked Sadykhov. So great performance from both. They both looked good. But yeah, sucks for Elder. He got cut open. Sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. Good job from Sadykhov for cutting him open, though, I guess. I'm glad that both of them got 50k for their debut. We move on to another fight up the card, which was Alexander Hernandez. This was my fight of the night. People disagreed with the decision. I had a lot of people in my chat saying 2-1 Jim Miller. I picked Jim Miller as well because I was expecting Hernandez to slow down after the first round like he always does. But it turns out short notice Alexander Hernandez has a better training camp than full camp, has a better cardio base than full camp Alexander Hernandez. And I don't mean full camp in the way of, you know, Jordan Levitt. I mean in terms of his training camp. Great first round. Could have gone either way. I gave it to Jim Miller, though. So I think 29-28 was the correct decision to Alexander Hernandez. Because Jim Miller, like, sort of hurt him at a moment with a head kick, I believe, at one point. And sort of, like, put on the pressure for a second. And, you know, Hernandez was the only one really in trouble in the first round, despite landing a few more shots. So I gave it to Jim Miller, but still a close round. At round 2 and 3, fair play to Hernandez, man. For a guy who normally slows down and quits on fights, he stayed in there. And Miller was swinging and he was missing quite a bit, but he was still landing good shots and being dangerous for the entire fight long, as we found out at the end of the third round. But Alexander Hernandez just sort of beat his looping shots with his straight punches. And yeah, jab down the pipe off both sides, straight shots down the pipe, straight right hand, straight left hand, was landing elbows in the clinch and elbows down the middle as Jim Miller came in, and landing knees to the body, leg kicks that he was landing. Miller was chewing up his inside leg. That's something that Jim Miller did pretty well. But yeah, Hernandez was going to the body very well. Kicks to the body, teeps to the body, knees to the body, punches to the body here and there as well. He was just making sure to slow down Jim Miller as the fight went on. And that's something that we need to see more of from Hernandez. He gets a little bit too headhunty in fights, and it ends up gassing him out. He needs to be a bit of more of a... He needs to use his explosiveness to get off a lot of investment shots early. If he can use that explosiveness to take out someone's leg in the first round, to really hurt someone to the body in the first round, then he can start having an easier time in the second and third. So he wants to go back down to featherweight. Fair enough. He didn't look that big against Jim Miller, so I think he is a featherweight, in all honesty, if he does cut down the weight, HGH gut or not. Second and third round to Hernandez. Third round was close, of course. There was the moment at the start where Miller cracked him, but Hernandez hurt Miller in the middle of the round as well, and just overall was outlanding him and piecing him up quite a bit. And then at the end of the round, Jim Miller nearly had a rear naked choke, but Hernandez fought out of it and then got on top and landed like 6 or 7 solid ground and pound shots. So, yeah, he did what he needed to do. If it would have ended with him in that rear naked choke, and the numbers would have been, instead of 42-27 Hernandez, 35-27 Hernandez, but that rear naked choke was in, then all of a sudden we're talking about Jim Miller. But I think that work at the end, after escaping the rear naked choke, kind of secured it for him. So, good job, Alexander Hernandez. Back in the win column on short notice. Good for him. We move on to the main card, which was William Knight versus Marcin Prachnio. I picked William Knight. Never doing that again. Want to know why? Because he won't be in the UFC for me to pick. So that's about that for William Knight. What just happened? We need to do an investigation on this fight, and I'm not joking here. You know, we've been talking about this whole James Krause stuff going on. I swear to God, this guy must have bet himself to lose by decision with his paycheck. He must have been done with the UFC in general, not interested in working anymore, and just showed up to lose. He didn't do anything. They say he landed 8 strikes. I swear to God, I saw 2 of them. I swear to God, I saw 2. They say he landed 8 strikes. I swear I saw 2. He didn't land a single shot to the head. Okay? Allegedly, he landed 2 to the body and 6 to the legs of Prachnio. And I feel like a lot of those ones to the legs were little tap-in shots and both of them getting their legs clashed with each other, sort of. You know what I mean? Like, wow. Terrible. Terrible performance by William Knight. He literally is such a bitch. I don't say that about a fighter, but what a pussy that guy is. I felt like going down to the Apex and fucking bodying him. You know what I mean? Just saying, hey, William Knight, give me your fucking lunch money, nerd. You know what I mean? I felt empowered watching William Knight. Just seeing him submit. You know what I mean? Like, if he showed that in a prison fight, he's the prison bitch for the rest of the time that he's in there. You know what I mean? That's just... All the other guys in the prison would be like, oh, well, that's what you're letting someone do to you? Oh, okay, I'm going to get that. You know what I mean? I'm going to get my fucking cinnamon rolls at dinner time. Hey, I'll have all the fucking scrambled eggs off your tray in the morning for breakfast as well, bitch. And you ain't going to do nothing about it. You know what I mean? Give me that vape. Give me your commissary. I'm the enforcer. Sorry. Some Abner shit there. No one would go that far. You know what I mean? They're not Hitler like Abner. But either way, Marcin Prachnio just kicked the hell out of him for 3 rounds. And I felt like just... I honestly want to see what William Knight would do if I tried to press him. You know what I mean? He better not be coming around my hood. You know what I mean? If I see William Knight out on road, I might just pop that chain off. You know what I mean? Rummage through his pockets. Sorry, my pockets. You know what I mean? Because that dude ain't on smoke at all. Like... I would have tried to throw something. He just took it. For 3 rounds, just took it. And did nothing back the entire fight long. All them muscles. For what? For what? Absolute waste. Waste of muscle, that guy is. Gyno, for what? You sauced up for nothing? Sauced up, shortened your lifespan? You know what I mean? Dreadful performance. Did nothing. And he definitely needs to be cut from the UFC after that one. Is he coming off a win at all, or is he on a 3-fight losing streak? Yeah, get rid of him, mate. He hasn't had an entertaining fight in his last 3, and he's on a losing streak. Get rid of him, UFC. We do not. Back to Amazon, mate. You know what I mean? I said this during the fight, but there's going to be some woman waiting for her Amazon order, and she's going to be like, it's late by half an hour. They're going to check out, and he's fucking limping up their driveway, dragging the box behind him, because his leg's been destroyed. Fuck him. We move on. Up the card, Josh Parisian versus Jamal Pogues. 2 fat hogs squealing around. Making a bunch of those noises during the fight. Just sort of rubbing their tits all over each other. Interesting matchup, though. Jamal Pogues showed decent wrestling entries for a heavyweight. I'll give him that. It was a close fight, though. It was a close fight where I was like, shit, if they give this to Parisian, I'm not going to cry about it. Yeah, I'm in. But Pogues did enough to win, I thought, the first and the third. But looking at this, he did get outlanded in the first. 12-7, apparently. So, yeah, I gave... 2 judges had it 30-27. So I guess they just had the takedowns winning the rounds for Pogues, because he had a bit of top control afterwards. But he didn't really do too much with those positions, though. That was the problem. But I guess they just sort of looked at Josh Parisian sort of like pulling up his pants because his arse crack was hanging out, and just sort of thought, we can't give this guy a win. You know what I mean? So they just sort of scored it for Pogues. Rightfully so. So Pogues, yeah, he showed good wrestling entries. Good for him. Round 2 I gave to Parisian. Round 1 I gave to Pogues. And round 3 I gave to Pogues. Close, but he did the wrestling that he needed to do. I'd love to see some outside-inside trips from him in the clinch. You know, it seemed like Parisian was going limp in the clinch, trying to sort of find his way out of the double underhooks. Perfect time to scoop out that leg with an outside trip and end up on top in half guard. My opinion, but maybe that's something Pogues can add into his game. But in all honesty, though, he looked good. He looked good in the wrestling entries. Not too much elsewhere. Bit of a slow fight, bit of a sloppy fight. Again, 2 big wild hogs. You know what I mean? Squealing about, winking around, rolling around in the mud of the cage. And, Pogues just got top position more often with, again, decent wrestling entries for a heavyweight that you don't normally see. So good for him. We move on to the co-main event. Jordan Wright versus Zach Pauga. Jesus, it was terrible. Now, Jordan Wright actually outlanded him 199-85 on total strikes, which is an interesting stat to look at because most of it was just Zach Pauga holding him against a cage and Wright doing a bunch of those little tapping blows with his hands. The official recount is 199 to 85 in favor of Jordan Wright on total strikes, but significant strikes. Completely different situation. Zach Pauga just sort of held him against the cage, cut him open with elbows. He cut him open in the first round pretty badly. Cut him open again in the second round as well. Won the third round just on damage, and then I believe got a bit of a takedown at the end, but Jordan Wright got right back up. It was just sort of Jordan Wright being held against the cage for 3 straight rounds and smiling and being okay with it. It was a shocking card. Even the fun fights were good, like the two of them that were fun, but the rest of them were either just mismatches. Emmers versus that Khusein Can Crush Medov was a decent one. You know what I mean? But yeah, I feel like the main card were lower quality than the prelims. Can we stop doing that, please? Can we please stop doing that? I think maybe the UFC were hoping, Jordan Wright, Zach Pauga, someone will get a KO. You know what I mean? Parisian, Pogues, maybe someone will get a KO. William Knight, Prachnio, there's bound to be a KO. You know what I mean? And they were sort of hoping that would carry the card, but it just ended up being a poopy card the whole way through. We move on to the main event. Jessica Andrade versus Erin Blanchfield. Well done, Erin Blanchfield. She got the takedown in round 2 with an outside trip, took down Jessica Andrade. I was surprised at the speed that she passed the guard of Jessica Andrade. As soon as she got her down, half guard, side control. Boom. You know what I mean? And then she was just waiting for Andrade to try and get back up or move. And fair enough, she got a rear naked choke in round 2, but come on, Andrade, man. You can't just be getting up like that. Getting up like Derek Lewis. It's women's flyweight. You're in a low weight class. They're going to latch up the neck. People don't go for rear naked chokes at heavyweight because if they fall off the top and end up on bottom, they might be KO'd by you, Derek Lewis. People don't jump on the back of him. That's why. They don't want to fall over the top. But come on, Jessica Andrade. You can't just get up and lift your neck up and, oh no, the choke's in. Good job for Erin Blanchfield, though. And she didn't look too shabby on the feet either. Of course, I did give the first round to Jessica Andrade, even though Erin Blanchfield may have outlanded her in the first. She did, 44-40. I thought the better shots were being landed by Jessica Andrade, especially towards the end of the first round. And then she started doing good in the second round as well, landing a bunch of good shots on Blanchfield. But Blanchfield, you know, eventually got the takedown that she was looking for in round 1. And when she did, night and day difference on the ground. So I think Erin Blanchfield can be a problem to Shevchenko, the same way Santos was. I would say save Manon Fiorot. She's one of the top contenders. And do Valentina Shevchenko versus her for the title in Paris. I know the UFC wants to go back to Paris in around September or August. We'll see what happens with Cyril Gane in his title fight. Maybe he loses and maybe he wins. And you can have 2 title fights in Paris, with Manon Fiorot fighting for one of them and Gane defending the heavyweight belt against the winner of Blades versus Pavlovich. We'll see what they do. Maybe it ends up being Gane loses to Jones and then he's fighting just a random contender in Paris. Who knows? But I know they're gonna go back to France once a year from now on. They want to take over that market. So, yeah, I say Manon Fiorot gets a title shot against Shevchenko. And then we do Erin Blanchfield, Taylor Santos. Because if Erin Blanchfield beats Taylor Santos on the ground, she might be a favorite against Shevchenko. And that's not even an exaggeration. So that'd be good. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle Pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye. I believe I went... Well, another main event that I lost. But that's just the luck of the draw, I feel like it is nowadays. But overall on the card, I went 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, 5-2... 5-3, 6-3, 7-3, 7-4. Not bad, but not great, eh? But still, haven't had a negative card all year, so let's try and keep that going. See you later.